Alright guys, we're going to start our next unit, which is looking at the three European nations that explored and colonized in North America and their interactions with the natives here and their interactions with one another. Alright, so we're going to start by looking at the Spanish. Alright, and as we start this, we're going to look at a great quote from George Patton. All right. This quote says, "Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way." And this describes the way that the three major European nations interacted with Native Americans when they came to North America. And we'll bring this up again as we talk about each different country and the way they interacted with Native Americans. All right, so let's look at the big picture here when we talk about the Spanish in North America. Spanish conquistadors, which are conquerors, explored the Americas and conquered native peoples. Their mentality regarding Native Americans was follow me. Do what I tell you to do. Follow me. Be my slave. Okay, that's the way that the Spanish treated Native Americans as they came across different cultures. All right, there's no greater example to this than Hernan Cortez. All right, Cortez is our first conquistador that we're going to talk about, and he's mainly going to have interactions with the Aztec Empire, okay? And their leader is Montezuma, which you see pictured here, okay? This is a map of Mexico, of course, and this red area that you see is the Yucatan Peninsula. This is the area of Mexico that Hernan Cortez was tasked with exploring, all right? He's going to explore here, but he's also going to explore other parts of Mexico, and he's going to run across the Aztec Empire. All right. So in 1519, he was asked to lead an expedition to the Yucatan, as we said. The Spanish are going to be able to win battles against Native Americans. When you look at the numbers of soldiers involved, it doesn't seem like they should be able to do so. But because their weapons are far more advanced, they're going to be able to defeat large numbers of Native Americans. The Spanish had weapons like guns and cannons. They had armor. They had steel swords. Native Americans didn't have these things. And so when we talk about these vast numbers of Native American soldiers and warriors, and we talk about these small numbers of Spanish soldiers, it's going to be the discrepancy between the technology of the two civilizations is why the Spanish are able to just overpower such large numbers of Native Americans. All right, getting back on Cortez, Cortez lands in Mexico at a place called Tabasco, okay, which is misspelled right here. We need to fix that. I'll fix that in the slideshow. At Tabasco, Cortez defeated natives who gifted him 20 women. All right. I think we all know what that means. They gave 20 women to Cortez to be used as slaves. One of those women was named Malinche, also known as Donna Marina. She is going to serve as an interpreter and a guide to Cortez, and Cortez will also take her as a mistress and father a child with her. But when I talk about Tabasco, I mean this Tabasco, not this Tabasco. Okay, Tabasco is a region in Mexico, just to the southwest of the Yucatan Peninsula. And this is where Cortez first encounters a hostile force of Native Americans, which he easily dispatched. All right. Here we have a picture of Malinche, aka Donna Marina. And if you look at this picture, does this look like a woman who has been enslaved by Cortez? No. Is this picture accurate? Probably not. This picture makes Cortez look like this gallant soldier, kind of a hero almost, and it makes Malinche look like she's just in love with him. And I'm not sure that that's how their relationship was with one another, but she did serve as his interpreter, and a lot of people credit her as being the reason he was able to overthrow the Aztec. All right. So as we said, she will serve as an interpreter, spy, and mistress to Cortez. And very soon after Cortez lands in Tabasco, he hears about the Aztec. The Aztec were hated by many other natives because they were a very warlike people. They were very imperialistic. They conquered the people around them. The reason they were able to build such a large empire is they took those conquered people and demanded tribute from them, usually in the form of men to serve in the army and in the form of slaves that were to be sacrificed. Okay? And so Cortez is going to use this hatred of the Aztec to his advantage and recruit Native Americans like the Lax Clan. All right, so Cortez marches into the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, and at first he's unopposed. He doesn't even seem like a threat. So Montezuma and the rest of the Aztec just kind of welcome the Spanish in and kind of show them the city. Don't really see them as a threat. But within a very short period of time, probably 2 weeks, relationships between the Spanish and the Aztec go south, and Montezuma is taken hostage by Cortez and his men. All right. Aztec priests then launched a rebellion against Cortez's men when they interrupted a human sacrifice. Cortez has to flee the city. He will return, and when he returns, he's going to put the city under siege, as you will see why in just a second. All right, the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan was a city in the middle of a lake. Okay, here we have this map of Tenochtitlan. All right, and this is just a rough drawing here, but you see the city that's built in the middle of a lake. And there are these causeways that get to the city from the shore of the lake. Okay? So if you're looking at this map, this gives them a great defense against armies that would want to march in here, right? Like, these armies can't get across these causeways without being bottlenecked. But think about how Cortez is going to attack this setup. All right, this city is in the middle of a lake. If Cortez can control the water here and control these causeways, he can prevent anybody from getting into or out of Tenochtitlan. And that's what he does. Cortez is going to get ships, and he's going to build ships, and he's going to put them in this lake. And then he's going to block off these causeways. And then after about 3 months of putting this city under siege, the city is going to fall. Okay? So Montezuma was asked to calm this rebellion that the Aztec had started, but because he had been captured by the Spanish, he no longer had the respect of the Aztec people. A lot of accounts say that Montezuma was attacked by his own people and even killed by his own people. A lot of other accounts say that the Spanish killed Montezuma. At any rate, Montezuma dies. Cortez has to run away, and then he comes back and puts the city under siege, like we talked about. Okay. In August of 1521, the capital fell, and the Tlaxcala, who were helping Cortez, came in and exacted their revenge against the people who had been so brutal towards them. They pretty much slaughtered the population of Tenochtitlan, not even sparing women or children. Okay. So after this, New Spain begins to expand. All right. Cortez ordered that a new city be built where Tenochtitlan had stood. It was named Mexico City, which was the capital of New Spain. Okay, it was named Mexico. And Mexico became the capital of the empire that would be created called New Spain. A few years later, another Spanish conquistador by the name of Francisco Pizarro explored Peru. He's going to encounter the mighty Inca Empire, and the Inca had been fighting a civil war with one another between two brothers, or half-brothers anyway. When the Incan emperor had passed away, his Atahualpa, who was his favorite son, was not the legitimate heir to his empire. So Atahualpa and his half-brother Huascar began a civil war with one another. Okay, this was going on for years and years and years. And Atahualpa was starting to win that war. Okay, so we see here the Capac Smackdown, Huascar versus Atahualpa. Okay, and we call it the Capac Smackdown because the Aztec emperor, his name was Capac, and so his sons take on that last name. Okay, whatever. So you look at the Incan Empire. This is the area that we're talking about in South America, what is today Peru and Ecuador and Chile. All right. So Atahualpa had just defeated his brother in a major battle and was poised to win the war when he was ambushed at a place called Cajamarca by Pizarro and his 150 men. And I say ambushed because it's kind of misleading. Atahualpa knew that Pizarro was there. He had spoken with Pizarro, and Pizarro said that he wanted to congratulate him on his victory, and he and his men offered Pizarro a Bible and told him that he needed to become a Christian. Atahualpa dismissed this invitation and then was ambushed by Pizarro and his men, which there again, Pizarro has much more advanced weapons than Atahualpa, even though Atahualpa has thousands of soldiers under his command and Pizarro has 150 men. After he is ambushed and his men are killed, Atahualpa is given the opportunity to convert to Christianity. Atahualpa, in exchange for his life, thinks that he can give the Spanish gold and silver and that will spare him. So he fills a room with gold and silver. It's not enough. The Spanish put him on trial for the attempted murder of his half-brother. They find him guilty and they tell him that he has a choice. He can become a Christian and be strangled to death, or he can not become a Christian and be burned alive. Here's the ransom room in Cajamarca where Atahualpa was kept, and here's his choice. Okay, this is a painting of Atahualpa's choice, where he decides that he will convert to Christianity to preserve his body from mummification, and he is then executed with a device called a garrote, which strangles you to death, rather than be burned at the stake. Not much of a choice. Other Spanish explorers, Cabeza de Vaca survived a Narvaez expedition and explored Texas and New Mexico with an enslaved man named Esteban. Coronado explored the southwestern United States in search of the 7 golden cities of Cibola. And Hernando de Soto, a very important explorer in our region, explored the southeastern United States, died of a fever, and was buried in the Mississippi River because his men were afraid that Native Americans would desecrate his grave if he were buried. Okay. So when we look at Spanish American society, here is the social structure. Okay. If you were born in Spain and you came over to America, you were considered to be at the top of society. If your parents came from Spain, but you were born in the Spanish colonies, you were called a criollo, and you were not as high class as the Peninsulares. Mestizos were born of mixed Native American and Spanish descent. And then lastly, Native Americans and later enslaved Africans are going to be at the bottom of this Spanish American social structure. All right. If we look here at this map, okay, when we talk about New Spain, it's going to be down here in Mexico, Cuba, Florida, okay, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola. These are the areas that are settled by Spain. All right. You can see here on this map what we're going to get to in a little while. France is going to control all the areas that you see here in pink, and then the British are going to claim the areas that you see in yellow. All right. So when we think about the Spanish and the way that they interacted with Native Americans and the fact that they were called conquistadors, and we think about George Patton's quote, "Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way," I want you to remember that the Spanish interact with Native Americans in a way that is follow me. Okay? We'll get to the way that the French and the British interact with Native Americans in our future lessons. All right, guys, hope you're having a great day.